you get to a certain point where you're trying to measure human athlete capability, that's part of the reason there's so many doping scandals, right? Is people are kind of trying to figure out what is the maximum level that humans can go to. And, that's involved drugs to a certain extent, kind of figuring out what the human body is capable of. And then backlash when there's a new thing, even with swimming, there was the whole thing with Michael Phelps using one of those shark skin suits, and, that providing an unfair advantage because you have plenty of countries, third world countries, that aren't able to afford that. And like that does make a difference, point something of a second, but in swimming that matters. So there's that. And then the whole bidding process and what happens with FIFA and the Olympics to like be a host city, that whole process, everyone kind of knows is corrupt at this point. And I was in Rio de Janeiro for the 2016 Olympics. I happened to be living in Brazil at the time and the lead up to that. And yeah, I mean, nobody was surprised when like a year after the Olympics, it was announced that the mayor of Rio had, a bunch of friends and fake construction companies setting up all of these things to get the Olympic contract. And then, paying these fake companies and just raking in the money himself. And it's just like, that is, tale as old as time at this point of somebody in those official governing positions dipping their hand in the cookie jar, trying to get some funding out of it, and lining their pockets or lining their friends' pockets. And so, it's kind of interesting because I think just as competition can kind of be human nature and to see what we're capable of as humans and as a species, but the corruption is also a part of that, right? And just the fact that there's just a hard time for people to say no when that money is on the table. And so you need people that are in those positions to be, just completely the best moral compass you can possibly imagine. And I just think that like there's no test for that nowadays when you get to those types of positions. And people say the same thing with politics too, that by the time you get to be a senator or a congressman or woman, that you're in somebody's pocket. You owe somebody.
They don't get you. They don't let you up to that up the ladder until you're playing ball. It seems like.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not in government,
but I think that exists in sporting, events as well. And especially because people have learned that there's so much money in sports. I mean, like the US is the penultimate example of that. I mean, the NFL alone, it doesn't exist anywhere else. Soccer or, football is like an easy one around the world because everyone kind of plays it and all the countries get in on that. That's why you hear about FIFA, being super corrupt. It's like everyone's from all different types of governments are like in on that. But even the NFL just has so much money. And we saw during COVID, like how much like sports was some of the first stuff that was up and running with their own bubbles. Right.
Yeah. The UFC never even stopped.
Like right. It's crazy. We probably overvalue sports, but at the same time, I think that's part of the reason that corruption exists is that everyone sees that.